I love functions, and I'm pretty sure you love functions too. Functions are probably one of the best things that happen to programming language because they allow you to actually compartmentalize your code, put them into different files or in the same file, and just make things more organized. And that's the reason I love functions so much. No matter what programming language you're using, especially in the modern days, of course, not talking about the pre-old era kind of a language, you will have these facility of using functions. And in the Golang, especially from the day one, we are using these functions. So let me go ahead and walk you through with that. I've already created a folder, 15 functions, initialized the mod file, got the main.go as well. And now we're going to go ahead and start writing some of the functions. We always go ahead and say this is a package, name your package whatever you like, and we go ahead and say function. As soon as I do this, it actually allows me to write my first function, which is main, which goes like this. And then I go ahead and say this is my empty function. Does nothing, but this is a valid function. The function keyword usually starts with a func, and then we have the name of the function. Possibly, there can be something else that can come in between function and main. We'll talk about that in the next video. But as of now, this is the knowledge we have. We use the func keyword, the name of the method itself, a pair of parentheses, and the curly braces. In the pair of parentheses, we can possibly pass on some arguments. We will explore them definitely in this video, but this is all we got. And in case I go ahead and say funct, and I say something like this, welcome to functions in Golang. Yeah, that's fine. As soon as we do this, this is a valid file now. And most surprising to all of you, I have just declared this function. I have never called this. There is no something where I just go ahead and say main like this. No, I don't do that. But still, this function actually go ahead and execute as soon as I say go run main.go. And this is a proof that main acts as an entry point for your program. There can be 1,000, probably gazillion different functions that you might have written, but how does this compiler knows, or the Go tool knows, that I need to start the execution of program from this point, and this exactly where the main actually go ahead and work on with. So let's go ahead and try something different, a method that is not executable automatically. Let's go ahead and try that. So we're going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and create a simple function. Let's call this one as greeter. It just greets, and there we go. And we're going to go ahead and put some greeting. What greeting should we say? Hello, something, or let's just borrow something. Hey Akshay, sorry, I'm borrowing your namaste here. So we're going to go ahead and say namaste. Hope you don't mind it. Namaste from Golang. And by the way, it's almost like hello from Golang, almost like that. But in India, we call it namaste. Anyways, this is what we have as of now. And if I run this program again, nothing happens, because if you are declaring a function, you need to call this function if you want to execute it. You can also pass on a reference. If you go ahead and just say, hey, that's greeter, just like this, this means you're passing a reference of it. No, we don't want that. We want actually it to be executed here. So once this is all done, it will execute. So the program flow from line number 6, as soon as it sees this, will jump to line number 11, will execute that, and will again continue. So let's go ahead and run this one. So we first get the welcome to functions, and then we get namaste from Golang. But if I go ahead and call these functions first and then put out my printing message, then obviously you get the idea. This will be executed first, and we go for that. So basic execution flow, nothing of a big deal up here. Now something interesting, if I go ahead and let me go ahead and put up another greeter up here. Let's go ahead and try to do something funny up here. Okay, so in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and declare a function up here. I'm going to call this one as greeter2. Notice here something interesting. First here, it creates a problem. It says expected expression syntax. Okay, that's fine. And let's go ahead and say this is funct. And it says another method. Now, can you say that what is going on wrong with this one? It says, hey, there is a function. It's an expected expression. And it says, hey, there's missing something in the print line and stuff. What's going on? Why is it not allowed? So let's go ahead and run that even. If I go ahead and say this is greeter2, you run that, and there we go. Now this is not allowed. You are not allowed to write functions inside the function. So that's why it is saying that, hey, I expected an expression here, but you are just writing a function definition. You should not do this. If you want something like this, you should actually move this definition, cut this out, and you should move that up here. Now outside you define this one first or this one after that, it doesn't matter. The call of the function actually matters a lot. So if I go ahead and save this one, obviously you get that what's going to happen. Okay, this is interesting. This is nice, but there's something more that you should know about this function. Definitely we'll go to the basics, but can I define a function just like this without the name? Technically, yes, you can actually go ahead and define these functions and can execute them on the go, but I won't be going into too much of detail of that. Yes, anonymous function exists, and you can also create ifs, immediately invoked functions here as well. But I think we should not have a discussion around it as of now, just giving you a brief that yes, they exist, but we're going to talk about them later. Okay, let's remove this part and this part as well and try to get back onto the conversation on these methods. Okay, now what do I want to do next is I want to create a special method that can add 2 numbers for me. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I want to print up a simple result of these addition. So we're going to say result is, and then we are going to print the result from this result. This variable doesn't exist yet, but this variable will be responsible for getting a result. Notice here in the greeter, we are actually printing stuff. Not always we want to print the stuff. Sometimes we want to hold the value to print it later on, or maybe do some manipulation later on. So we're going to go ahead and say result. You're going to get a value from the method, which I haven't yet defined. Let's call this one as adder. And the adder is going to take 2 parameters. Let's just say I want to add 3 and 4, or 3 or 5, which is a complex calculation. I don't want to manually do it right here. I want to create a method so that I can do it again and again and again. So for this, let's go up here. So how do we take down the values here? We are going to go ahead and simply say function adder, since I've already defined the name. And here I'm going to say that I'm about to receive 2 values. So this is going to be val1, which is of type integer. Yes, you have to define what type of values you are expecting here. And another one is val2, which is also going to be of type of integer. Okay, so this is fine and easy that you are having an adder, you are expecting 2 integers or float or string, you can expect anything up here. Now, what I want to do is I just want to add these 2 values. So val1 plus val2, these are being added. I don't want to store them into a variable, I just directly want to return them. So that's what we got up here. So as soon as the val1 and val2 is going to come in, I'm going to just go ahead and send a result of that. Now you might be noticing that there is a red squiggly line, and that line is because in my definition entirely so far, I have talked about that I'm expecting a value, but I haven't mentioned that do I expect some value to send back also. In case that is the case, you need to define only, not the name, but only the type of the value that you are about to return. If you are about to return a string, mention the string here. If you are about to return an integer, go ahead and mention the integer. These are known as function signatures. What kind of value you expect to be passed on, what kind of value you expect to return back. These are known as signatures. As soon as I save this, obviously, this will be pretty easy to guess what's going to happen. I have defined a function which can calculate values for me. Okay. And it's not like you can only expect 2 values. I have 3 values, 4 values, and you can return as much as you like. 3 values, 4 values, an integer and a string, or both integer. You can have a mix and match of all of that. But now let's define something interesting. I have no idea how many values are going to come in, but I want to add all of them. So let's create a function for that. And there is a standard syntax for that in the Golang. We're going to call this one as pro adder because it is obviously pro, not just any adder. In that case, I'm going to say that I'm about to receive values. And all of the values are going to be of type integer. This is how it works. You need to provide that values, and all the values will be of type of integer. This is how it works. And in return, I'm going to give you an integer, and there we go, definition starts. Okay, so what do we want to do? Simple, we would just want to go ahead and do addition of that. We'll store that addition into a total variable, which is going to be saying that, hey, I will start with 0. Okay, nice and easy. Let's loop through with values because values is now a slice, and we need to loop through with that. Let's go ahead and do that. We have already seen how the loop works. We are going to receive an index and we are going to receive a value. If we go ahead and use this range keyword, and I want to range through the values, there we go, nice and easy. And all that I want to do is take this total and I want to plus equals whatever the value you are giving me. So this value is being added every single time into the total, and total is being upgraded. But this is not it. Since I've mentioned that I'll return you a value, I'll go ahead and say that go ahead and return this total. Now it is good. Now our pro function is all ready. Okay, let's go ahead and try to use that. So for the pro function, let's go ahead and create new line. I'm going to go ahead and move up here. Why did I wrote 4 there? We don't want to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and say that I want to have a pro result this time. And the pro result will be given to me by obviously pro adder. And pro adder can expect any values. So comma separated values. Let's just say you say 2, comma 5, comma 8, comma 7, whatever. It can expect any values. Since this is a slice, it will keep on expanding, and thus we are going to get a result. Okay, let's go ahead and say this is going to be like this, nice and easy. And then we are going to just go ahead and say pro result is, and let's go ahead and say result, not result, pro result. Come on, ProRes, there we go. Finally typed it correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and run this one. So yes, pro result is 22, and you can just keep on adding without worrying that what kind of function signature is, and that's exactly what we did when we were using the append method. Yeah, that's the exact same syntax. So we can get all of this. So 3 triple dots are the Variadic functions, and they can expect any values up here. Now, just interestingly, wanted to show you one last thing before we end this video, that it's always not recommended, or it's not always necessary that you only return integer. We have seen that some of the comma OK syntax works nicely, and in fact, even when we do all these kinds of loop, we expect that the index will also return. So you can also manually design such function. Maybe you want to say that I will return you the total, but also I will return you something like a hi pro result function. God knows why, but you want to return the string as well. You all have to do is come up here and pass on that I will return you a string as well. But since you're returning 2 values, it is important that you also wrap them up inside the parenthesis, and that's the valid syntax. Now, of course, this will give you an error when you're using this method, because now this method is actually giving you 2 values, the same error that we have seen into the comma OK syntax. So all we have to do is handle this. So you can handle that in a couple of ways. You can go ahead and say, I don't care about the second value, just like this. Or you can handle this as my message. And then obviously you have to print that up. So let's go ahead and print that. Pro message is, yeah, did I wrote it correctly? Anyways, so we're going to say that my message, and there we go. Nice and easy, no big deal. You get the idea. So this is all basics of it. Yes, just to remind you again, there are immediately executed functions as well. There are lambda functions, means functions without any naming as well. They do exist, and we're going to definitely talk about them, but not right here. Just wanted to give you a brief description about functions. There is a little bit more onto these functions, but we're going to catch up in the next video to discuss them.